Afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call to order this PVUS meeting for May 9th. And I'd like to recognize that this meeting is being held on the traditional territory of the Lillooet Nation. Any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, move as presented. Director Mack, second by Director Kennett. Any opposed? Motion carries. We don't have a close. So we'll go right to the consent agenda. Would anybody like to point anything out? Move the consent agenda. Moved by Director Matt, seconded by Director Kennett. Opposed, motion carries. Any business arising? Seeing none, we'll go to 7.1, which is staff reports, SLRD, CAO verbal update.
Right, to see everyone today, I don't have anything.
Remember.
Yes, Karen, happy to get that.
Thank you.
The committee had asked me to do a bit of research on some properties around town.
Thank you.
Coming back with some information I will speak to in just a few minutes. So the first property or properties were those behind the PDCC. The first one is 7398 Cottonwood Road, which is listed at 1.9 million, or actually 1,998,000. And it is zoned for multifamily residential. And it is the first of two properties that are adjacent to one another. The next being 7402 Cottonwood Road, which is listed at 1,699,000. Also zoned for residential multifamily. And then the final was one which we've spoken about a couple of times, is related to the Sandy Dump and Visitor Center for the chamber, and it is 1460 Emerson Portage Road, and it is also known as the Card Lot, as we've spoken about it before, and it is zoned commercial tourism. I hope you find the information that I've given you helpful.
Awesome.
And no problem. The other item of note that I wanted to share with you, you would have gotten an invitation by now, but further to the playscape discussion and a green space over at the PDCC. On Tuesday, May 28th, Tom Barrett Landscape Architects will be holding a dedicated charrette workshop at the rec, and that'll be from 12:15 until 3:15. Lunch will be served. The session will include VOP Council and SLRD Area C directors. Desired outcome of this process will be to arrive at a playground layout solution that all parties can accept and that meets the community's needs without conflicting with adjacent uses or posing safety concerns. The aim of the charrette process is for stakeholders to arrive at one or two sketches for the playground relocation and great lawn elements, including shade trees and sanctuary spaces. The workshop will be followed by a formal presentation of outcomes to synthesize one or two feasible plans for the playground and green space. My apologies, I have taken some of this wording from another document, and I just wanted to note that I don't normally use the word stakeholders, shareholders. So, any questions?
So
about that?
what was the date and time of that?
That is the 28th of May from 12:15 to 3:15 at the rec. And thank you, Area C directors, for your contribution of $5,000 to this process.
Any questions?
Well, thank you for that. Your work there.
A lot of gratitude to Ms. Burns, who has coordinated this process, so thank you.
Thanks, guys. On to Do you want motion to receive the verbal update from the village permanent CAO, moved by Director Kennett, seconded by Director Mack. Any opposed? Motion carries. Takes us to 7.3. Recreation service, permanent district service fee charges by New Burns. Village.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for having me today. The purpose of this first report is to seek consideration in support of fees and charges amendments for the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, Pemberton and District Recreation Service to reflect costs. And it is recommended that bylaw number 1864-2024, cited as Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, Pemberton and District Recreation Services fees and charges bylaw, be considered by the Board of Directors for readings and adoption. You can see that I have put in there the history of increases from 2019 right through until this year. This year, we are proposing a 3.9% overall increase to facility rental fees as well as passes. And this has to do with continual increases in wages, contractor expenses, and elevated consumer price index. And the cost of everything is going up, so we're just trying to keep everything as equal as we possibly can. We didn't make any real changes to the document this year, other than ensuring that everything's rounded to the nearest 25 cents. We've left administration fees for photocopying and things like that the same, because the library has as well. So they're in line with other organizations that do similar things. Equipment rentals, we've left the same. And then the only major changes we had in the previous document that we would be following requirements from laid out for permits for facility bookings from the Winds of Change. However, that document does no longer exist. However, we do still require that any additional permitting for a facility rental that requires alcohol adhere to licensing through the Liquor Control Board, RCMP is notified, and there are restrictions for those types of events that are in place by other legislated bodies. So we feel confident in how we're currently moving forward and managing those things that would make people jump through hoops to a certain extent. Not big ones, but just make sure they get what they need. Small annual increases help us ensure that we're not making big increases at a later date. So my recommendation is that this committee recommend to the board that bylaw 1864-2024, cited as Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, Pemberton and District Recreation Service fees and charges bylaw, be introduced and read a first, second, and third time, and that this bylaw be adopted. If there are any questions, please do ask away.
Ms. Burns,
I'm good.
questions? No, seems pretty reasonable.
Can we do all of that at one time?
I think we gotta do the two. We'll do the first three readings. Yeah, so we'll do the first three readings, moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Kennett. Any opposed? Motion carries. And then we will move adoption. Director Mack, seconded by Director Kennett. Any opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, it seems all pretty reasonable. Face of much higher inflation. Actually, like you've managed to keep the increases below what a lot of other inflationary rates been. So,
For the time being, yeah, definitely.
yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And then we have the information port recreation first quarter, Ms. Burns.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a report that we do hopefully quarterly, a couple times a year anyway, just to give you guys an idea of how things are going. I think we have continued to see modest increases in use of programs and services across the board. In some areas, we're still seeing some significant increases in use, specifically around rentals of indoor spaces and outdoor spaces. We continue to see some significant increases in those areas. We do anticipate that we are almost reaching capacity to a certain extent with services and programs that are being offered, and we're increasing everything as we can as we go. Children's programs, 1,382 registrations in programs for the first quarter. Fitness programs are the one area where we are officially maxed out to a certain extent because we have limits on capacity, and we're pretty much running all value added and fitness registered for fitness programs are full pretty much every day. And if they aren't, it's because someone did a last minute no show and we didn't have an opportunity to pull someone from a wait list and get them in. So that is exciting for one thing. Seniors programs, we're steady as she goes, 178 unique registrations for the seniors fitness classes that we've been operating. The social matters program that we piloted in 2023, we've continued with Better at Homes. So that program is moving forward, and we will continue with that one because it is full every Monday. So it's quite busy. A variety of other events were thrown in conjunction with Lions Senior Center and things like that. So the rec is being utilized 3 days a week, I believe, through seniors programming, with a little room for more as we have capacity to add from a staffing perspective. Adult drop-in sports were consistent across the board. Fitness center use, we had 11,622 unique visits to the fitness center, which was up from 10,816 during the same period last year. So that's a 7.5% increase. I think we'll probably start to see that just be as steady as she goes to a certain extent because it's pretty full in there. So that's all comes and goes with people's preferences for how much space they want when they're working out, right? Membership sales were up by 4.5%, which is still great. Like I did mention, indoor space use is up from 2023. And then I actually ran a few numbers from 2020. So we're up 171% in use from the first quarter in 2020. For the first quarter for space. From 2019, we're actually up 255%. So pre-COVID numbers were 255% in use of space for rentals alone. So that just gives you a pretty good idea of how the community has grown pre-COVID and the demand on use of the space and how it's increased. Outdoor use is kind of new. So that one was up from last year, but nothing significant. I mean, it is January, February, March we're talking about. We added counters to the front doors of the facility last year. So we're still kind of tweaking and working with those numbers. But according to our counters, we had 111,914 people enter the facility between January and March of this year. So we're still working with the library. They use the same counters. So we just have to figure out the magic numbers there, but I'm looking forward to seeing what that kind of data shows us of how frequently we're being used and who's going where to a certain extent, because a lot of those enters into the facility are definitely for library use, for sure. everything's steady as she goes from a facility maintenance perspective. We're super busy. We did RFP for new cleaners for the facility, as our contract ended the end of March. We're super excited about the new contractors, that have been hired. We've actually received compliments on how clean the space looks, which is kind of rare in a public space. So we're pretty happy about that. And then, other than that, I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
My question is just about the accessibility ramp and all of that sort of thing. How are we making out on that file?
Yeah, we're actually moving forward. I think I just received the final surveying numbers that, survey results that the engineers required to do the engineered drawings, as well as the, design. We need the further design plan. And then we have, the library has reached out to see if we can get some assistance with the development, like with the project itself and the management of the project through a local builder. However, at this point in time, it's still all preliminary. So we are just moving forward as quickly as we can based on how busy other contractors are at this time of year. So I'm excited that maybe by the end of the month, we'll have everything we need to start moving forward, for sure. So we're pretty excited. Just had a couple of meetings about that yesterday.
Anything else? We good? Right, motion to receive the first quarter report, please. If you can, not. Any opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Burns.
Thank you.
Enjoy the sunshine.
Yes, you too. Enjoy Vegas.
Where are we now? We're on 8, correspondence for action. The first one, we have 2 of them. The first one is from the Permanent Child Care Society, requesting an update on the relocation of the nature play park. I guess I'm looking for a motion to have staff let me know that process. Thank you. Opposed, motion carries. The next one is 8.2. It's a request for funding, and this is from Permanent Animal Wellbeing Society regarding dog enclosures. Anybody speaking to this, or we just going off the correspondence?
As I understand, we go through correspondence, it was recommended. Verbiage.
So, you guys saw this in your report. Any thoughts or comments on the request?
I think it's obviously very important that we do support this, so we just have to figure out how we're gonna do it.
Well, this would fit in one of our 2 funds, or joint funds, I would imagine. I'm not sure who I should be looking at. Kristen, come on up, help us out here. Either of our 2 joint community funds, space for this?
Kristen Clark, Director of Strategic Services. Thanks, Chair. So what that is an option, and there is wording in the policy that if an organization is receiving recurring annual funding from the SLRD, they're not eligible. This has been done before, providing some sort of one-time funding to at least one organization that was being provided with recurring funding. So we have that notwithstanding wording that could be used if we want to proceed, notwithstanding the ineligibility clause in the policy.
Right. Okay. Thoughts?
Like I said, however we do it, we need to do it, so whatever options available, that's agreeable. We need to use.
Far from me.
I'm just throwing in the recommended motion.
So that'd be recommended to the board that, subject to entering into the one-time funding agreement required by the SLRD policy number 16-2020. And notwithstanding that organizations already receiving funding through annual recurring funding contributions from the SLRD are ineligible applicants, funding of $5,000 be granted to the Pemberton Animal Wellbeing Society from Pemberton District Initiative Fund Cost Center 2108-2109, specifically from the Arts, Culture and Recreation stream towards the cost of building 2 outdoor dog enclosures at its animal rescue facility located in Pemberton. Did you put that together, Rusty? Moved by Director Mack, second by Director Kennett. Any discussion? Thank you for letting me see on this fight. Appreciate it. Correspondence for information. Any comment, or would somebody like to just move receipt? Receipt and Director Mack, second by Director Kennett. Any opposed? Motion carries. Decision on late business. Late business, we have none. Director's notice of motion. Motion to adjourn. Director Kennett, second by Director Mack. Adjourn. 1:22.